Hello, my name is Wayne Patterson, and I'm a member of the Warwick Valley Rotary Club within District 7210. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a PowerPoint presentation called Rotary Members Looking Inward. It's a great presentation. I think you're going to love it. And at the end of the presentation, there'll be a survey for you to take. And it's a valuable survey, so I hope you take out the time to take it. So I'm going to end right now, and we're going to flow right into the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. Well, hello everyone. Here is the Rotary Members Looking Inward PowerPoint that I was telling you about. You know, it's funny how we work so hard with organizations and we look to service towns, villages, people, and that is looking outward. But the question is, how often are we helping the person seated across from us at a meeting, right? And that's looking inward. And that's what we want to be talking about today. You know, Gordon McNally had a vision as he took leadership of Rotary International. And number one, he wanted to focus on peace. But he wanted to start focusing on peace starting with ourselves. He wanted to create hope and lasting change through different areas of breaking stigma, raising awareness, increasing access to the mental health initiatives, right? But he also wanted to look inward at our membership, right? And that's kind of important to know because we serve best when we ourselves are healthy. That's key. Now, here is something that's very familiar to all of us, the four-way test. Is it the truth? Being truthful builds connections and relationships that we relaxed and we trust, and we have for years now. We need to trust within ourselves, and that's kind of important. Is it fair to all concerned? Integrity is a part of well being and it underscores Rotary's values. Are we being fair to ourselves? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Goodwill and better friendships are definitely going to improve our own well being. Is it beneficial to all concerned? That includes you. Looking inward does not conflict with service above self. You have to remember, you know, the airline example. You have to secure your own mask first. That's essential. So here we are, people skills, balancing the weight of life's worries. I know none of you have any of these worries, right? Family, friends, school or work or future, right? But the skills that are necessary are self-awareness, and I'm not really going to read them all, but you could read them for yourself, you know, connectedness, etc., right? That's important. But how can we make the belongingness of being a Rotary member even better? By what? Connecting, communicating, building cohesive relationships that we continue, and we do it through breaking the stigma about our own well being, raising awareness of ourselves and others. Essential. Now, here we go. What are your ideas to improve well being of Rotary members? And I'm sure you have many, many ideas, but here are some suggestions that were taking place to put together this PowerPoint presentation. You know, they had a committee that made this vision real. Random table assignments monthly, chit for a chat for brief telephone calls, 3-minute mental wellness presentations. These were all done to put together what I'm sharing with you tonight. Ideas. Now, here are some of the ideas. As you could see, active listening, which, you know, to be present, you have to be present to listen, right? And not be focusing on what you want to say next, but just listen. That's why we have two ears. Remembering to follow up. You know, when somebody wants to follow up on something, let's build on that. Let's remember what they said. And speaking of following up, when somebody says we should do something, then let's do it. Being emphatic. There's nothing like passion to get the ball rolling. Being courageous. That's essential because sometimes when you think out of your comfort zone, it is uncomfortable, but it puts you in a different place and those around you in a different place to think more about the present and what you're trying to share and discuss. Being vulnerable, a very uncomfortable place to be. But what do? We find a place, we're uncomfortable. What's the worst that could happen? We'll recover. But what if being vulnerable is a plus? What if it does show some growth and advancement in ideas? Environment. What is our club's environment? That's important to understand. And of course, understanding others. Having a tough time about that, need to feel, sometimes we need to feel defensive because people aren't understanding us. And I think if we just sit back and listen, remember, follow up, be courageous and vulnerable, and of course, be kind, there'll be no reason for anybody to get defensive or anyone to be offensive. Obstacles. There are always going to be some, right? There are always going to be some. We think that these ideas and skills may seem obvious, but, they are routinely how we handle certain situations. We always hit obstacles and become a problem solver, right? And we do it through positive self talk. Here's a video. I'm not going to really share the video today, but, Danny was a Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, right? And he kicked some butt, in 2014, 2016, and they won the Super Bowl, right? And he kind of learned that self talk and positive self talk and communication is important, very, very important. And those that knew Danny knew that he was not only a kick butt wide receiver, but his positive self talk and putting barriers through communication, something that he lacked, made a difference in his life and in his career. Now, as I mentioned, I wasn't going to show the video. You could watch that on your own. Now, some obstacles, right? And these are obstacles that we kind of get stuck with every single day. Anxiety. I had a little anxiousness putting together this video, and even speaking in the backdrop where you can't even see me. I wanted to make sure I spoke clearly, wanted to make sure that you could hear me. And, so there was a little angst, right? And we need to control our anxiety. And it only is in our head, right? And how we respond to anxiety determines a lot in our lives. Self esteem is the next item. And self esteem, you got to be realistic. If we know something is going to be wrong, right, or be a problem, then it should be brief, right? But we remember that Rotary members themselves have a lot of self esteem because they are on the right track for helping others outwardly, but now we want to focus on our inward strength. Fear. Ah, big problem. Hard to label all the time, but we recognize that you are going to be okay, and fear just comes and go. And sometimes fear, as you know, there are so many acronyms for fear, and not gonna go through all of them today. But fear is just between our two ears, and we need to be able to be comfortable outside of our comfort zone. Privacy. Oh boy, you know, sometimes we keep things in us because of the stigma that surrounds our lives and the topic that maybe we want to talk about. And it's important to know that privacy is something that you share with either a fellow Rotarian or a family member, and you would hope that there's no judgment, and you would hope that there's no criticism, and you would hope they wouldn't put a stigma on you. But sometimes, as a Rotarian, you might be approached by somebody and they might be sharing something that's very, very personal. How are you going to respond? How are you going to react? Are you comfortable enough to share some of your intimate stuff with some of your fellow Rotarians? Response. Oh my goodness. You know the old saying, it's better to respond than react, right? And that's important that we should always be kind and we should always defer judgment. Now, we're at the point that I talked about at the opening of this PowerPoint presentation. Here's the survey. It's a QR code. You can put your phones up to it now and log in to the QR code, through the QR code to the survey. It's a very short survey. I hope all of you take the time to take the survey. It's something that's going to be recorded and documented now. It's anonymous, number one. Number two, you will have to show what district you're with, and you'll have to show what club you're with, because we'll be putting together results and statistics now, because you'll be taking a similar survey months from now, and we want to see if there's any difference between the two. So here is something that is very, very important. And, the goal is to address any kind of concerns that there are with a crisis. And there are different types of crisis. When you are concerned about something, you could speak with a friend, trusted friend, a Rotary member. You could talk to your doctor. You could talk to local counseling resources. But if it's a crisis, just be aware there is a chat, a call, and a text, and it's a new number, 988. And that's a number that can be reached by phone. You could call on a telephone too. There is another number that you could reach out to. You can text that number. And you could also reach out to, here in Orange County, 311. That's important for you to know as well. Just understand, if there's someone or yourself that there's going to be harmful to themselves or others, you always have to call 911. Here are some of the references that were used today for this PowerPoint presentation, and I'm glad that I was able to put together some time out of my schedule, and you took out time out of your schedule, not only to hear the PowerPoint presentation, but hopefully to share it with members of your club, and hopefully you do take the survey. Thank you very much for your time. Look forward to seeing all of you and hearing from all of you soon. Peace and love.